So one thing I'm like super into right now is coming to ayahuasca.
Mhm,
I came to learn, and then I realized to learn I need to heal.
mhm,
And then it took me a while to work out what I actually needed to heal,
mhm,
you know?
mhm,
And this big kick I'm on right now is like deep gut healing,
mm, mhm,
deep, and like the parasite cleansing and all that kind of stuff.
mhm.
So I'm really curious how, as someone who has explored this yourself, like I'd love to hear the importance of these practices
Mm,
on your worldview.
mm. I mean, I could go into a massive tangent on the gut brain connection, but I'll just shelf that. Um, for me, healing my gut has been what has allowed me to connect to my soul. Because I deeply believe that just the principle of the gut brain connection, our gut health reflects in our mental health and how our mind is working. So if we have blockages or stagnancy in the gut, we're also going to have blockages and stagnancy in our mind. And a lot of this work is really unraveling all of the processes and the stories of the mind. But if we can't actually access that as clean information because there's a buildup of toxins or there's parasites or there's bacterial overload, then we're just in my experience, we're just going to continue to loop. And my gut health, it bled into everything in my life. My gut health impacted my hormones. My gut health impacted anxiety and depression. My gut health impacted my sex drive. My gut health impacted my relationships. My gut health impacted so many things. And so until I really started to address my gut health, a lot of the things that I was doing, the breath work, the meditation and everything, it was just, it was a band-aid solution really because I wasn't getting down to the root. And our gut is our second brain. Our gut is where we produce so many of our hormones and the chemicals that are impacting every system in the body. And so gut health to me is such a crucial aspect of the work. It's a pillar, it's a foundation.
Mhm. And it's like, everything's like energetic first and becomes
Mhm.
physical, at least from my perspective.
Absolutely.
And when we're talking about literally removing the physical waste of the
Mhm.
body, if you go, okay, now we're not doing that, or we're not doing that
Mm.
effectively, like we're holding on to this
Yep,
waste. And this waste is just continuously circulating through the body.
yep.
And I think there's a lot of people out there who are like potentially not in the greatest, like, mental health kind of
Mhm.
space. And I honestly think like if people cleared their guts out, there would be
Yeah.
it'd be a profound change in their life.
Oh, 100%.
Like I would be someone who I would consider to be like a relatively healthy
Mhm.
individual, And the shit that has come out of me recently is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know? Like, unbelievable. Like, literally, I know this is like kind of gross, but like, literally last week, I shit out like a 12-inch worm,
Wow.
you know? It's like, fuck.
Yeah,
That guy was just in there, just living off me.
that's wild. And also not. We also have to take into consideration, no matter how healthy we perceive that we are and how healthy we're eating and how healthy our lifestyle is, it's just inevitable in the world that we live in that we're going to take on toxins and we can become a victim of that. We can create stories out of that. We can hyperfixate on that and create fear around that and then create all of those energies in our body. Or we can say, okay, what can I actually do to assist my body? Not because there's anything wrong with our body or because we need to fix it, but what can I do to assist my body in its detox processes that are inevitably being hindered by the toxins in our water, in the air, in the food system, like all of these things. It's just like taking radical responsibility and treating our body as a vessel. And the gut is at the root. The gut impacts every other system. And so to totally negate our gut health or to think that our gut health isn't quite literally impacting everything else is naivety.
Mhm. Yeah, and again, and like the energetically of like, not only is it the thing releasing waste, it's also the thing digesting the world, you
Mhm,
know?
mhm.
And it's like, man, you're gonna have a hard time. And I'm just
Yeah,
like starting to see my awareness like click on in like whole new ways
yeah.
by working on this. And especially like when we look at like the energetics in the body, like the like the dantians from like Chinese
Mhm.
medicine. You have like the lower dantian is like right below your belly button, you
Yeah,
know, and that's like your energy reserves.
yeah.
That's like energy that's like in ice. It's like frozen, and then it becomes chi, which is like the water that flows,
Mhm.
you know. And like if your guts are leaking, like you can't store the energy.
Yeah, yeah. 100%. Yeah, when I was dealing with leaky gut and SIBO, I mean, I couldn't focus. I couldn't have an intellectual conversation. I was going through massive, massive ups and downs with my moods. It was just like everything was impacted. And then as I started to heal the gut, which had a very big energetic focus to it, it wasn't just supplements, it wasn't just detox protocols, it was actually addressing like, why is my gut leaky in the first place? Where am I lacking boundaries? Where am I not using my voice? Where am I not feeling safe and secure and thus impacting the stability of my root? Where is my sexual energy leaking, impacting my sacral center? All of these things that are impacting the gut. I had to become aware of them, or I didn't have to, but I chose to become aware of them so that I could begin to address that aspect, which became an integral part of my healing and still is. I mean, even on dieta, like a big physical focus of dieta for me was, at least it was felt for me, was that a lot of the physical healing that was happening was in my gut.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if it's something that people haven't looked into, like I definitely recommend it. It took me a long time to like actually land there,
Yeah.
you know, especially like being in the plant medicine, like the plant medicine being my introduction and kind of putting almost like little importance on physical things to some degree
Mhm,
because like I knew that like the emotional and the spiritual things are kind of like the cure all,
mhm,
you know, but there's like just like pretty simple things you can do to get moving. And then like you
mhm,
said, like at least for me, I've seen like as I've brought in physical things like binders, you know,
mhm.
the emotional things around boundaries are
Mm.
arising.
Yeah.
It's like I'll let it go, but like you got to let that go,
Yeah.
you know. And it's like, oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
you know, we can kind of find a vibe here.
Yeah, it's all interconnected. And so when we start to heal and focus on the physical ailments in our body and the things that are in disorder or just out of harmony, then it also provides a gateway for us to look into the emotional aspect and the energetic aspect. So it's just all intertwined.
Mm. Yeah. I have a question here that I actually just asked Emily.
Mm.
Like, what would be a good question for Sarah? And she said to ask you about the sacred teacher, a single piece of gum.
A single piece of gum.
Yeah.
What?
I don't really have context for that. I think you ate a piece of gum and it became your teacher.
Oh my goodness. Oh, maybe. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, like what's coming up for me is I used to have when I was in university, I used to be so addicted to chewing gum, and it was like a busyness, like keeping my mind busy. And that was also, um, just yeah, so many things played into that. But I think perhaps I shared a story with Emily about like years later after I was no longer addicted to chewing gum and had like been going through a lot of gut healing. I chewed on one single stick of gum and I like within like 30 minutes I looked like I was 9 months pregnant. And it was, like it was absolutely insane, but I had also, like so as I started to put the pieces together, I mean, I believe that because of my addiction to the gum, I developed, like, a hyper, hyper, hyper sensitivity to aspartame and sucralose, which are things, like, if I touch them at all now, and even some of the, like, what they claim to be more natural sweeteners, like, any of the sweeteners that end in OL, so the sugar alcohols, xylitol, sorbitol. if I literally look at them, my gut just goes into complete disarray. Um, and so that for me, like that experience when I chewed that single piece of gum and my gut just went, absolutely, positively not. We are not going down this path again. It just brought me back to the innate wisdom of my body and how I had disregarded that for so long and ignored so much of the information that my body was bringing up for me until I literally was in a state of dis-ease and I was like knocked on my ass. And I think sometimes like that's part of our humanness is that we wait for things to get so bad before we address them in any way, shape, or form. And so now I am just so much more in tune with my body and with all of the information that it's bringing forth to me. But for the listener, like, I think this is such an integral aspect of doing this work to connect with soul and to connect with the body and to come back to spirit is we start to listen to all of the signals and all of the little pieces of information as they arise instead of waiting until we hit rock bottom, until we're in a state of dis-ease, until our mind is just so incredibly loud that we can no longer ignore it, to be able to cultivate this relationship with ourselves. And even like working with the plants does this too. Like you start to learn how to notice state changes. You start to learn how to really, like, the plants don't speak to you unless you're quiet. That's the whole principle of dieta, remove the noise. And so you start to tune into the subtleties of medicines, of your body, of all the workings of the system, of everything in your inner and your external environment. And when we learn how to do that, that's when like the real healing just our healing and our growth just becomes exponential because we're tuning into all the subtleties instead of waiting for everything to just absolutely come to this precipice and the volcano to explode for us to actually go, oh wow, like there's something here that I should maybe address.
Mhm. Wow, I'm really glad I asked
Yeah.
about the gum. That was an epic
At
stream.
first I was just like, I have what, the gum, no idea what you're talking about.
Nice. Thank you, Emily. So many blessings. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, don't forget to like and subscribe below. It really helps a growing channel like this out. And click up here, it'll take you to a collection of the best this podcast has to offer.